Hello, my name is Carl Surrey, and this is a video tutorial for two Facebook groups, fans of Serif software and Affinity Designer and Photo Group. And in this tutorial I want to look at what is known as the Orton Effect, which is a photographic effect which was developed by a photographer called Michael Orton. But he didn't like using transparencies rather than digital, but I'll sort of get into that a little bit further on. I'll let somebody else explain it far better than I can. But just a quick look at what the effect may look like. This image here, which I got from Pixabay.com, and I will add a link to this in the description for the video, and this is what it would look like with like the Orton effect. It just makes it sort of very hazy, sort of blurry and much sort of brighter image. It may not necessarily work on every type of image, but this is the one I'm going to work on. Now this all came about because in the Fans of Serif Software group, John Collins added one of his own pictures and using the Orton effect, and I'd put on there that I'd never even heard of the Orton effect, to which Angela Evans directed me to a Michael Orton photography website, which I'll be having a look at in a minute. And then John went on to say that he had adapted it from a Wayne Fox tutorial, which again I will have a look at in a minute. So going back to the Michael Orton website that Angela H. Evans pointed out, this is this one here, which is, I'm assuming, by the actual photographer Michael Orton, and he explains how he does it with 2 or 3 transparencies. I suggest that you have a look at this, and I would add a link to this into the description of the video that you are watching. But he did also say in here that when Adobe released Elements 10, they included in the guided action an Orton effect. So I thought, oh well, I'll see what that looked like. So this is Elements. If I go to the guided section and special edits, and there we have the Orton effect, sort of making it sort of blurry. So if I click on this image, which is one I took of Norwich, you can add the Orton effect, and then you can have some control over how bright or how hazy it is with these particular sliders. So that is how you can do the Orton effect in Elements. Coming back to this article in the Fans of Serif Software, like I said, John mentioned that he'd followed a Wayne Fox tutorial, so I had a search for that, and I found this, the in-depth guide to the Orton effect by Wayne Fox. It is 23 minutes long, but it is very good, very interesting, and I would also advise that you watch this. He shows you 3 different ways to apply the Orton effect. The third one we possibly can't do in Affinity Photo because it's done using the raw files rather JPEGs and TIFFs and stuff, but he alters things by making them smart objects, which I really don't know too much about smart objects, but as far as I can make out, you can't do that in Affinity Photo. But the first 2 methods are possible in Affinity Photo. But that said, the Wayne Fox video is not the only Photoshop video out there covering the Orton effect, so there may be other ways of doing it rather than just the Wayne Fox method, but this is the one that I'm going to be adapting for Affinity Photo. Let's get on with the tutorial. Now, I'm only really going to show you the first method from the Wayne Fox video. The second method is possible, but to my mind it's a much subtler look, and you'd be hard pressed, I found it hard pressed to sort of really see that the effect has had any effect whatsoever. Now, I would also advise that you make a macro of this so you can use it again, and I have made a macro of this, and that is included in the file section of both the Facebook groups, Fans of Serif Software, and Affinity Design and Photo group. So you can download it from there if you don't want to make your own. But it's quite a simple process, so I would advise making your own macro for future use. So let's get on. First thing I need to do is to duplicate the background layer. So I'll just right click and come down to duplicate, and then I'm going to duplicate that layer again. So I now have 3 versions of the background layer. Now I'm going to change the blending mode of this top layer from normal to screen. This will make the image much brighter. All you need to do is right click on that layer and then come to merge down. So you're now back to these 2 background layers. You can rename this layer now. In the Wayne Fox video he renamed it base, so I'm just going to do the same. You don't necessarily have to rename it, it's just to help distinguish between any other layers. So I now want to duplicate this base layer and change that to the multiply blend mode, and I'm going to rename this one blur, and what I'm then going to do is come up to filters, blur, Gaussian blur, and it's a case of setting a blur radius that you like the look of. I mean, for the macro I made it 100 pixels, but if you want a slightly less blurry effect you could come to 30, 40, 50 pixels, whichever you like the look of. In fact, you could probably make 2 or 3 macros at different settings, which might be a good idea because some effects will work better with different settings. So I'll leave that on 44.5 and then just click apply. So basically, really, that is it. That is the end of the tutorial. If you wanted to, you could add a layer mask to one of these layers, probably more the best for the blur layer. And if you wanted part of the image to have more detail, you could get the brush tool with black as your foreground colour, and you would be painting onto the mask, and you could paint off some of that blur effect to bring back some of the detail in a certain part of the image. Again, this may work on some images better than on others. So you have one part of the image that's got quite a lot of detail, whereas the rest of it looks very blurry. So that was, like I said, the end of the tutorial. If you do make a macro, you will have to use the menus rather than sort of like right click and select things that way, because the macros do not like that happening. So if you wanted to select a layer or duplicate layers, you'd have to sort of do it from the menus up here. So if I just turn off that and that, so we come back to our start image. If I open my library, and this is the macro that I made, I'll just click on that, and there you see it has automatically done what I did in the previous layers as part of the tutorial. So that is the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for everybody that gave us the idea and how to adapt it. And like I said at the beginning, I will add links to all the things that I've mentioned in the description for this video. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.